The 70s were a wild era. And while all this was going on, Bill Cosby raped 54 people. Holy shit, that's a lot of rapes, man. This guy's putting up real numbers. He's like the Steph Curry of rape. Man, that's a lot of rapes. 54. If he had raped 30 less people, that's still 24 rapes. Don't forget, each one of these rapes has 8 hours of sleep in it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's over 400 hours of rape. It only takes 65 hours to get a pilot's license. If rapes were aircrafts, this nigga's Top Gun for sure. Yeah, that's a tough one. You know, and I was on stage not too long ago. I was in Syracuse, New York. Yeah, well, yeah, for Syracuse, but the show didn't go so good. All because I was talking about Bill Cosby a little bit. Not a little bit, I'll be honest. Talked about him for like maybe 25 minutes. And a woman stood up in the back of the room and she screamed out, "You are a fucking asshole for saying these things." I know. Instantly, I felt, like bad. Not bad about what I was saying. I just felt bad, like, oh, that's too bad she doesn't like the show. I didn't realize it at first. But not only did she say that, she was rushing the stage. By the time I just saw this shadowy figure fucking charging up the aisle towards me in full fight mode. I was horrified. I said, oh my God. I'm gonna kick this bitch in the face. Lucky for me, I didn't have to. Security tackled her, but it was a really fucking horrifying scene. A scuffle ensued, and then, finally, she screamed out to me, "Women suffer." I said, I know. And ladies, I need you to know that I know. I need you to know, seriously, there's a lot of men in this room that identify themselves as feminists. I would include myself in that. Don't ever forget, we all have mothers and daughters and sisters and wives, and we want to see all these women do well and not be held back by their gender. There's a lot of men like that in this room. There's a lot of men like that in the world, or as we are known on the streets, bitch ass niggas. But as this woman was wrestling and screaming at me, I started to take offense. And I'm gonna be honest, race was involved. She was a young white woman. Well-intentioned, but it's like not thinking it all the way through. Bitch, how the fuck are you going to yell at a black man about discrimination? She didn't get it. She just kept going. Women suffer. I know. Women suffer. Same team. Women suffer. I know. And this is when she went too far. We suffer just like you. Slow your roll, bitch. You suffer, yes, but not like me. Not like us. She goes, suffering and suffering, what's the difference? I said, come on, white woman, you know what it is. You was in on the heist, you just don't like your cut. You suffer, I suffer. You suffer, I suffer. That's how it works. Can't do comparative suffering. If you're hungry and your friend says, people are starving in Africa, so what, nigga? I still want lunch. Black people know about comparative suffering, and you know this is a fucking dead-end game. Blacks and Jews do that shit to each other all the time. You ever played Who Suffer More with a Jewish person? It's a tough game. Whenever you think you got the Jewish guy on the ropes, that motherfucker will be like, well, don't forget about Egypt. Egypt? God damn, nigga, I didn't know he was going all the way back to Egypt. What the fuck is wrong with her? What does she think? Does she think that I don't know that rape is wrong? Does she think that maybe I don't have empathy for Bill Cosby's alleged victims? And I would be remiss if I didn't remind you that technically these are all still allegations, although I admit it looks very bad. But perhaps, if she looked at it correctly, she would have empathy for me, the man she was attacking. 42-year-old black comedian. Obviously, Bill Cosby was a hero to me. And she doesn't know what it feels like to think that your hero might have done something so heinous. My God, you can't imagine. It'd be as if you heard that chocolate ice cream itself had raped 54 people. You'd say to yourself, oh man, but I like chocolate ice cream. I don't want it to rape. At first, I didn't believe it. I was like, man, these people are obviously trying to destroy Dr. Cosby's rich legacy. Even 34 allegations into it, I was still like, man, probably only raped 10 or 11 of those people. I know, but it's really tough. You know, you guys are young, so imagine if you found out 40 years from now that Kevin Hart raped 54 people. You'd be like, oh. The only one that would believe that would be Cat Williams. He'd be like, I knew that motherfucker was up to something. My wife's friend, Stuart, told me that. My wife has a lot of gay friends. Stuart's their leader. She has a lot of gay friends. And I don't like them. Not because they're gay, I'm just judging them on the merits of their character. They're just not nice dudes. They're fucking rude house guests. They're sitting on my couch, giggling with my wife, eating my motherfucking macaroons. And I come in, they act like the party's over. Hey, Stuart, what's going on? This guy talks to me the way a cat would speak if a cat could talk. Hi, David. Stuart, what's all the beef, man? What's going on? He always wants to have some kind of gay political argument. The last one was about a petition in federal court to take the words husband and wife out of the law. I said, well, why would you want those words out the law? He said, because it discriminates against same-sex couples. I was like, niggas, please save me the semantics. Just trust me, take your chips and get the fuck out of the casino. You're about to crap out. Just go outside, talk that over amongst yourselves, and whichever one of you is gayer, that's the wife. No, Stuart didn't like that. Stuart educates me about this movement, you know what I mean? I didn't even know shit about it. He told me it's called LBGTQ. I was like, what the fuck is the Q? Does that even make sense, Q? Turns out Q is like the vowels. That shit is sometimes Y. For gay dudes that don't really know they're gay. You know what I mean? Like prison fags who are like, well, I'm not gay, nigga. I'm just sucking these dicks to pass the time. I'm not G, I'm Q. Ugh. I think, okay, again, of all those letters, the T has the toughest road ahead. In fact, I think the T should stand for tough road ahead. They've got the longest mental gap to bridge. That's all I'm saying. Because, you know, whenever I see one of them T's on the street, I don't mind them, but I'll be like, man, I miss Bruce. I'm sorry, guys. I'm 42. I remember Bruce Jenner. Before the Kardashians, before all that, this motherfucker was a white American superhero. It was amazing. He was beating Africans at track and field. We'd never seen anything like it. He was on my cereal box growing up. You know how much of that cereal I ate, nigga? I didn't know he was gonna do that. I knew before you guys knew. I heard things on the street in Hollywood. You know, you just be out, see people. Hey, what's up, Kanye? Why the long face? Nigga, you'll see. Got 2 mother-in-laws now. And when I heard he was gonna do it, I was scared. I didn't think the public was ready. I didn't think the media was ready. And you know what? I was wrong. Not only did the public embrace him, but the media was nice. I'd never seen anything like it. Welcome to the world, Caitlin. So long, Bruce. Hello, Caitlin. I was shocked. Is this happening? Wait a minute, is this a time in American history when an American can make a decision for themselves? And even though other Americans don't understand it, they'll support it and let this person live a happy life? Is this what's happening? If it is, then good for America. That's Dave Chappelle, the American. Although Dave Chappelle, the black American, he was a little jealous. I was like, how the fuck are transgender people beating black people in the discrimination Olympics? If the police shot half as many transgenders as they did niggas last year, it'd be a fucking war in LA. I know black dudes in Brooklyn, hard street motherfuckers that wear high heels just to feel safe. Transgenders are gangsters. I used to do business with a transgender in Hollywood. Man, everybody would be scared of her in the boardroom. She'd walk in there, newly minted woman, high heels, purse. Wouldn't say anything to us, just walk around the conference table looking mean as shit. And then she walked to the head of the conference table, stare at us all. Reach in her purse and pull her old dick out and throw it on the table. Let's talk business, gentlemen. Ah! Shit is scary as fuck. If your best friend pitched that to you, you'd be horrified. Yo, nigga, let's go to the hospital and cut our dicks off and make pussies out of them shits. What? Can't we just get matching jackets or tattoos or something? Sure, that's what you want to do? There's only one way to find out, nigga. Wu-Tang, bow, bow. Let's go to the club and trick niggas into fucking us, yo. I was sitting back there, I'm smoking, drinking with the stars. And then 2 Hollywood movie producers came over right to me. Oh my God, Dave Chappelle, said the leader one. He was obviously gay. Some guys you can just tell. The other one seemed like a money guy, like maybe he was from Texas or some shit. But the gay one was definitely the leader because he did all the talking. And then he hit me with, so David, do you have any movie ideas that you would like to pursue? The truth is, I don't. But if you know the game, you're not supposed to tell motherfuckers you don't have ideas. I was like, yeah, man, I got plenty of ideas. And he called my bluff. Really? Like what? Huh? And then I just started making up shit that I thought maybe he'd like to see. I said, I have a superhero idea, because really? I go, yeah, he's a gay superhero. He was like, really? What's it called? Huh? Oh, it's called Same Hero, New Boots. It's about a gay sous chef in San Francisco. He gets bit by a radioactive rat on his shift when he's taking out the trash. And is blessed with powers beyond his wildest dreams. Supersonic, gay kind of powers. And he starts saving everybody in San Francisco. But at first, he only saves gay people. Later, he saves everybody, and the whole city just falls in love with him. The only problem is, no one remembers him when he saves them. Well, I don't understand. Why wouldn't they remember him? I said, because, dummy, he's gay. He keeps changing his outfit. People come up and, thanks for saving, mister. What's your name anyway? And he's like, same hero, new boots, and that motherfucker flies away. He was like, I like it a lot. The Texan didn't like that shit at all. He was upset. That's impossible, gay superhero. I said, what? Well, I have others. I have a superhero you love because he's stronger than Superman and he fights for truth, justice, and the American way like Superman, but more than Superman. He beats up Mexicans for no reason. The Texan's like, you got my attention. I was like, man, this motherfucker is so strong. He can fly and do all this great shit. Only problem with this guy is he can't even activate his powers unless he touches a woman's vagina. Not a long touch, just a couple of pats. He said, well, what's the problem with that? I said, well, the problem, sir, is that our hero is not, he's not a handsome man. And he's often short on cash. So whenever trouble breaks out, he has to run around the city and convince women to let him pat their vaginas. Please, miss, that building's on fire. Can I pat your vagina quickly? People are dying, but he can't tell them exactly why. Ugh, get away, you're gross. Please, miss, people are dying. Just a couple of pats. Ugh, gross, get away. So he rapes them. I know. That's the dilemma for the audience. Because he rapes, but he saves a lot of lives. And he saves way more than he rapes, and he only rapes to save. But he does rape. I didn't realize it, but the whole green room was looking at us. All the celebrities were disgusted. Oh. That guy from Texas was like, here's my card. Call me on Monday. That worked out. The second time I met O.J. Simpson.
The school year was already in full swing, and Ellington has a policy that they don't let people just come in the middle of the year. But Linda Gravatt, who was the head of the theater department at the time, very graciously took a meeting with me and my mother, and I get emotional thinking about it. Anybody that went here? You remember what it was first like when you first walked through the door? And it was in the afternoon and everyone was in their arts classes and the girls had tutus on and everyone was weird and walking around the hallway like you weren't sure where anyone was supposed to be, and you could hear people practicing their horns and shit all through the hallways. There was art bouncing off the walls. The minute I walked through the door, there was a gallery of all these children's work, and these pictures were amazing. My first thought when I walked through that door, I'm not good enough to be here, I'm sure. Miss Gravatt sat me down, she told me about the school, and you remember Miss Gravatt, she was very businesslike, but also very warm. She was intimidating, but palpably kind. She was a paradox of a human being. And she gave me a date for an audition. My mother said, okay, Dave, it's on you. Now, those of you who know me know that I didn't prepare for that audition. That audition was like a possession. It was just something that I was proud to have. But as the days got closer, I'm like, oh my God, I gotta get something together. I didn't even know how to do an audition. I'd never done it before. So I went, I said, what do I need? They said a monologue. So I looked up monologue. And I went to the library, the MLK library, this huge library, so I gotta find something, and I found a piece in one of those yellow script books. It was a monologue by Mark Twain called The Judge's Spirited Woman. I learned it in a night. You know, it was not hard for me to memorize things. The next day, it was a Saturday, I think, and I came to the school, and they auditioned what used to be this room, the original theater at Duke Ellington School of the Arts. And all the department heads sat in here, and the lights are in your eyes, and there's a bunch of kids who already go to the school who come on Saturday just to see who might be coming. And I talked to all these kids before I went in, and these kids were nothing like the kids at Easton. They were like them, but they were different. They were weird and funny and self-deprecating and things like this. And I remember I came out on stage and I did my audition, and it was like terrible. I froze up in the beginning. I started, and then I said, wait a minute, I'm messing up. Let me start again. And I was nervous, and I was scared. And in the middle of the audition, I'm in the middle of the monologue, one of the teachers, Fred Leach, he said, he goes, okay, that's enough. I said, well, there's still a little more. He goes, no, that is enough, he said. And I can't tell you, like, I was crushed. Without saying his disapproval, I knew it stunk. And I was right. When I walked in here, I knew I wasn't good enough to go to this school. And I thought to myself, fuck this school, that's stupid anyway. In first year theater, there's a question that they ask students from time to time. And it's a make or break question. And when we ask this question, you don't know. And the question is this. They say, why do you want to act? Now, if you say anything like, I want to be a star, you're not going to get in. I didn't know that. And I figured I already blew the audition, so I told him the truth. He said, why do you want to act? I don't. That's what I said. And they said, well, then why are you here? I said, because I want to be a comedian, and some comedian told me that if I want to be a good comedian, I need to learn how to act. And the teachers look at each other and go, thank you very much, and I left. And I was walking down the hallway, kicking rocks. There was a kid that already went here. His name was Aiko Handy. And Aiko said, hey, man, I listened to him talking about you. I said, you did? He said, you're in. I said, what? He said, you're in. Well, it didn't make any sense. Somehow we worked it out so that they gave me an early enrollment, and I left Eastland within weeks. At an improv class, a teacher named Geraldine Gilstrap told me that I should stop doing funny pieces, that I should try to stretch myself artistically, that maybe I had more in me than comedy. And at the time, I took offense to that. So because she said that, after school that very night, I went to the comedy club. For the first time, I signed the list, and I waited, and I got on, and I killed it. Killed it. Must have been 35 years ago, night after night, I killed it. I'd show up with a bag of tricks that I learned at school, and I would dominate adults on a regular basis. Couldn't wait to get out of DC. When I was 17, I moved to New York and lit that comedy scene up. I was obviously talented. You'll hear stories about people saying that I discovered Dave Chappelle. It's like saying you discovered sunshine. I was shining on everybody. And And when I got in that professional world, I was oddly prepared. I had a sense of professionalism. I showed up on time. I did the things that I learned in school to do, just the basics. My career didn't have any direction because I was still so young. And it didn't change for many years. It didn't change until my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, told me she was pregnant. And I was like, you know what? I should really start taking this seriously. When she told me that, before the baby was born, I had done my first HBO special, and then I went to work on a sketch comedy show idea I had, and Chappelle show came out. When my son was still maybe 18 months, he was a year old. And I bet on myself. I took less money. I remember that, so I could do what I wanted to do. I said, you don't have to pay me that much, but you can't ever tell me that I can't do what I want to do. I did the first season, I'll tell you, for $300,000. Which sounds like a lot of money, but. It was a rare experience in my life because it was the first time that I did something that was so successful that I knew I had exceeded their expectations. I was more successful than I felt like I was supposed to be. They didn't plan on that. The second season came out and it was a juggernaut, and then I remember this was the single best day of my career. The Rick James episode of Chappelle Show had come out. People were going crazy about the Rick James episode. At the same time, the DVD for season 1 of Chappelle Show dropped. It was the first time any television show had ever been sold off air, and it sold 1 million copies in the first day. It was unheard of. To this day, nothing has sold more than Chappelle Show. It's still on the top 10 in Netflix. All those great things happened, and my contract was up. Clearly, I was about to be rich. I'll spare you all the details of why it didn't work out. But it didn't work out. And I ended up doing something that no one had ever seen before, including myself. Maybe Prince is the only other guy that I've seen do this, where he just quit something that was popular when you're at the very top of it. Lucky for me, when I quit, I went to Africa, so there was a media storm that I didn't hear. By the time I got back, everyone was just looking at me crazy. That was a very difficult decision to make. The entire world told me I was crazy, but I was sure I was being true to myself and to something that I learned at Ellington. I'm one of those comedians that thought of himself as an artist. I was enamored by what the genre could do. It was like the pictures that I could paint with words and the way I could engage with audiences. I understood as it was happening. I was very lucky to be able to do this. And I protected that. And I knew that if I took the money, they would expect me to behave differently. And then, Lorne Michaels asked me to do Saturday Night Live. And it wasn't just like he asked me. He was courting me. I didn't even know it. He gave me this whole long speech. I was like, all right. And then I read some book about Lorne Michaels starting Saturday Night Live, and I read the speech that he gave Richard Pryor when he wanted him to host the show, and I said, holy shit, that's the same shit he said to me. And I did it. And that was an enormous amount of pressure. It had been 12 years since I had been on television, or since I had even talked to the media. And I remember I signed my Netflix contract on my way to my mark for the monologue. If you do live television, they count down every second. 30 seconds. Are you sure this contract is good? It's good, just sign the paper, it's good. 22 seconds. Oh, nigga, you better not be tricking me. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I walked out on that stage and I killed it. It was natural. It was nothing. It was easy work. Got an Emmy for that one too. First Emmy I won. And when I walked on the stage, after being in the cold for so long, for the first time when I walked on the stage, I'm like, damn, nigga, I just made $60 million. So I thought to myself, it's been great ever since. And really, I could do these specials like Steph Curry. I'll be shooting from inside, outside, all night. It's been great ever since. A lot of my friends are athletes, and I never could understand what it would feel like to only have a limited amount of time to be great. You got 20 years to be the best, or 30 years to be the best. But when you do art, you could be great whenever the world decides that you're great. I feel very lucky for that. And I never forgot this school. I've always come back and checked in. One of my favorite honors was doing the commencement at Ellington. I can't even remember what year it is. I just remember they cheered for me when I came out. I wasn't a big star, but I was their star. And I felt like I was home. After I did Lorne Michaels, after I did Saturday Night Live, Lorne Michaels said something that I gotta share with you. He goes, "You went to Peggy Capeford School, didn't you?" That's what he said. And I said, "I did." And he said, I want to say that Saturday Night Live, he goes, "Tell her I owe her money." You know, I never asked to have this theater named after me. Peggy asked me. She was ailing, and I went to her house to visit her. She said, "I want you to put your name on the school." She said, "It will help us raise money for the school." And to me, it was like, I felt like I'm a little young for that, and I'm still kind of using the name, you know what I mean? Let's see what I do with it first. You never know, you know. Like, imagine if OJ named his son OJ Jr. Oh, Dad. And around then, I was receiving the Mark Twain Prize, huge honor. And the next day, all the artists that came to honor me, the Bradley Coopers and Chris Tuckers and all these great people, came to Ellington, and they taught master classes for the students. And Peggy Cooper Capeford, as sick as she was, got out of her bed so she could be with her babies. She never left us. So I did it. Say, you know, whatever you want to do, however I can help, I'll do it. I got to tell you, if you quit a show like Chappelle's show, I don't know if you know what happens to you professionally, but I'll tell you what doesn't happen. They don't just say, "Well, good luck in your future endeavors." With that media, they beat me up. With their power, they tried to make me behave. It takes a strong person to stand out in the cold like that. And I swear to God, so much of the strength I got to do that, the inner warmth I got to do that, I learned in this school and from my friends who helped raise me. So why wouldn't I do anything I could to help my benefactor? And the last time I came back, after the closer, when the kids were mad at me, I gotta tell you, that was quite the day. All the kids were screaming and yelling. I remember I said to the kids, I go, well, what do you guys think I did wrong? And a line formed. These kids said everything about gender and this and that and the other, but they didn't say anything about art. And this is my biggest gripe with this whole controversy with the closer, that you cannot report on an artist's work and remove artistic nuance from his words. It would be like if you were reading a newspaper and they say, man, shot in the face by a 6-foot rabbit, expected to survive. You'd be like, oh my God. And they never tell you it's a Bugs Bunny cartoon. I took a lot of cold shots in show business. And I gotta tell you, as the years go on, you feel the shots less and less. Hey, it's just a business, is what you say. But that one, that day, boy, that day they hurt me. When I heard those talking points coming out of these children's faces, that really, sincerely hurt me. Because I know those kids didn't come up with those words. I've heard those words before. The more you say I can't say something, the more urgent it is for me to say it. And it has nothing to do with what you're saying I can't say. It has everything to do with my right, my freedom of artistic expression that is valuable to me, that is not separate from me. It's worth protecting for me, and it's worth protecting for everyone else who endeavors in our noble, noble professions. And these kids didn't understand that they were instruments of oppression. And I didn't get mad at them. The kids, the freshmen, they're not ready yet. They don't know. What made me mad, and I am this petty, I ain't saying names. One of the kids' mother went on Fox News. And she used to be a student here. I remember her face, but I don't know if she was particularly popular. Anyway. She was in the literary media arts department. She said a lot of things that I didn't like, a lot of things, but, you know, that's her right. The things she said that got to me. She said, at Duke Ellington, that theater was a sanctuary for students. I used to sit there and meditate. Well, of course you'd meditate. You were a literary media arts student. We didn't meditate in here, we got to work. But okay, fine. I would sit in there and meditate, she said. And then she scrunched her face up. She's a beautiful woman, but her face looked hideous the way she scrunched it up. And she said, and just to imagine his name on that theater. How could you do that to those kids? Listen. No matter what they said about the closer, it was still the most watched special in the world. And I am still of the mind, and I say this with all humility, it is a masterpiece. And I challenge all my peers to make its equal. They cannot. I am sure. It will be decades before you ever see someone in my genre as proficient as me. I am maybe a once-in-a-lifetime talent. I am telling you the truth. About 3 weeks ago, I saw in the newspaper that a man that was dressed in women's clothing threw a pie at the Mona Lisa and tried to deface it. And it made me laugh because I'm like, it's like the closer. I said it to the kids that day, if you have a better idea, then express it. And you can beat me. It's that easy. If you have more talent than me, then display it. And you can beat me. with certainty. This is what our genre is about. The idea that my name will be turned into an instrument of someone else's perceived oppression is untenable to me. The fact that if my name was on this theater and the kid that walked through that door would feel anything other than pride in their school and in their endeavors, well, that's untenable to me. So on Friday, I decided that I don't want my name on the school. Hear me out. The Ellington family is my family. When this controversy came out, when the students were angry, at the height of their anger, they said, we still want to name the theater after you. They taught the kids about the nuance of art and activism. And I feel, a great deal of success. And it came around. So it's not that they did not want to give this to me. They're still my family. And I'm not going to say I don't want it. I'm going to say I'll defer it. Rather than give this theater my name, I would like to give these students my message to them. So it is with great honor that I unveil the new name of this theater, the Gerard Carmichael Theater. I'm just kidding. I'm totally joking. Let me see if I can get this here. This theater should be called the Theater for Artistic Freedom and Expression. I want that for myself, and I want it for every student that's educated at this school. And when and if you are ever ready, you can put my name right on top of that. I love you, Duke Ellington. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Lifelong friends. As I get older, I appreciate my teachers more and more. But to tell you the truth, I appreciated them then. Teacher salary is, not necessarily what it should be. And when I think about that, juxtaposed to the dedication that the teachers, the time they would spend to me, the way they would notice, are you okay? Is everything all right? You look sad today. Any little thing, like a family member would. And they fostered an environment of almost absolute trust. Like your parents. There's 2 lectures that I got at school that changed the way I do comedy, that turned a light switch on. It was 2 teachers. Donald Lease. Donald Lease, may he rest in peace. Maybe one of the single best educators that I've ever met in my life. He had a demeanor about himself that demanded excellence from his students. He would tell us incredible stories that I didn't believe. He claimed in one class, the song Killing Them Softly was about him. I was like, nah, nigga, not you. He told me he knew Donny Hathaway and Roberta Flack and all these people, these DC legends. He's a humble man, but he really demanded excellence. And he gave us a lecture once on a concept called polarization. Polarization meaning the idea that if you can make everybody look at the same thing at the same time, that their rational mind will decrease and their emotional response will increase. He said that's how audiences work. That's how mobs work. That's how you make a person lose themselves in the crowd. I got it. As he was saying this, he would hold a staple in his hand. It was a good lecture. He said, everyone focus on the staple. And then he would explain to us what polarization is as we're all looking at this staple. And then he'd scream, ha! And everyone would jump, oh. And he said, what you scared of? Oh, shit, that works. And ever since he did that lecture, I listened in his class intently. He was one of the only guys that I would always get straight A's from because I worked very hard, not to get his approval, but to avoid his disapproval. When we were coming up, they had a thing called juries. I don't know, do they still do juries? Juries is when all the department heads give you a piece to work on and they sit there and they make you perform the piece, and the criticism is brutal. We were kids. We didn't understand that they were preparing us for a hard world ahead. If you wanted a profession in art, they would tear us to shreds. The stress of a jury, and man, I never practiced. Because I didn't want to act.
You know, I'm from a different time, young man, a dark time to you. I'm from a time that I didn't even used to know who was on the phone until I answered the shit. Like when tragedy used to strike. I remember I was 12 years old and the teacher wheeled a television set into the classroom. You remember these days? And she turned it on to one of 3 channels. And she said, class, the space shuttle is taking off and we're all gonna watch it take off. Man, that shit was going great for like 3 to 5 minutes. That's right, you remember, it fucking exploded. Right on television, everybody on board, dead, immediately presumed dead. It was so bad, the teacher looked at all the kids and was like, you can go home. It's a goddamn national tragedy. This was Cold War America. The Russians were laughing at us. My point is, for a guy your age wouldn't even know the pain because in your generation, it's like the space shuttle blows up every fucking day. How can you care about anything when you know every goddamn thing? I'm getting over one cop shooting, and then another one happens, and then another one happens, and another one happens. I'm crying about Paris, and then Brussels happens. I can't keep track of all this shit, so you just give the fuck up. That's the hallmark of your generation, and that's fucked up because your generation lives in the most difficult time in human history. This is the age of spin, the age where nobody knows what the fuck they're even looking at. Did you know that Planned Parenthood was for abortions? It's for people that don't plan things out at all. That's right. So a guy your age doesn't really know how he feels. Are you pro-choice? Are you anti-consequences? What does it all really mean? It's easier not to care for you. But for us, we were trained to care. We were raised that way. I used to watch a fucking cartoon when I was growing up called The Care Bears. It was about a fucking group of teddy bear people. They were like teddy bears, but they were like people, and they were all different colors, and they all fucking just walked around caring. They cared about each other and everything else. They all had different designs on their stomachs, and the designs told you something about what they might be like inside. Very, very loving group of beings. And when shit got real bad, as nice as those teddy bears were, they didn't get mean faces. They got determined. And they would say, come on, guys, it's time for the Care Bear Stare. Remember that shit? And them little teddy bears would lock arms and stare at the problem. And I'm not even bullshitting. Actual love would shoot out of their chest and would dispel anything that was fucked up. And when we grew up, we wanted to be like those bears. And then we got our hearts broken. So we found out that life wasn't gonna let us do that. And that it's impossible to shoot love out of your chest. However, I have shot love onto somebody's chest before. I do it all the time. It's the next best thing. Oh yeah, you kids don't know. Your generation is just determined to be angry, mad. Everybody's mad. Back when we were growing up, only black people were mad. Now, everybody's just trying to get in on the act. I try to think to myself, well, when did everyone get mad? And then I realized this happened before we were born. This is a long way to go, but probably started in the Second World War. Think about it. All these black men, millions of black men, leave the United States for the first time, go over to Europe with America's armed forces and fight the Nazis and make more money fighting Nazis than they ever dreamed they would make in the United States. And a lot of those men, while they were in Europe, just to be real, not to be crass, a lot of them probably got their dick sucked by white women. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, this was World War II Europe, and these were desperate times, and penises were being sucked for shoelaces and chocolate and very frivolous things. And it's very hard to come back to America and sit on the back of the bus after you've been in the south of France getting your dick sucked for a Crunch bar or some crazy shit like that. That's a life-changing experience. And while that was happening in Europe, here in America, for the first time, women entered the workforce en masse by the millions. All the men were gone. Someone had to run the factory. The ladies did it. That's right. This was the first generation of American women to have independent income en masse. And when the men came back, the women weren't the same. American women had grown. They were uttering phrases that no woman on earth had ever spoken before. Things like no and shut the fuck up and I don't feel like it. And then behind the scenes of that, there was a little-known government agency that started testing mind-controlled drugs on the American public. They fucked up. They tested it for 12 years. They didn't realize these drugs were not mind-controlling. They were mind-expanding. It was LSD and mescaline and shit like that. And for the first time, there was a new school of thought that was chemically induced that made people question the very society they lived in. By 1960, the President of the United States was only 42 years old. Can you imagine? DMX is older than that. And he was going to usher in a new era of peace. He was going to avoid the Cold War. He was going to end segregation. And they blew his fucking brains out in front of everyone in Dallas. This country was never the same. There were 7 more major assassinations in the 60s. Anyone that stood up and said anything was shot down the streets like a fucking dog. Kennedy, King, X, Evers, on and on. You didn't even have to be famous. You could be a college student at Kent State or in Mississippi protesting the Vietnam War, and they shot them too. You know, I'm happy really to see black people come. You know, a lot of black people don't fuck with me like they used to. But there's a lot of reasons, there's a few reasons you don't see black people at my shows. One is because obviously black people have slower internet connections. I mean, that would be my guess. I don't know what. Actually, my own actions drew a wedge between me and the community I hold so dear. A couple of weeks ago, I was supposed to be in Flint, Michigan for a charity benefit that was supposed to raise awareness for the appalling condition of the water in Flint. I don't know if you know this, but the water in Flint is fucking poisonous. It's actually making people sick. I mean, Hollywood people like, so what? At least they have water. But this water... This water's fucked up. So a lot of black celebrities flew into Flint, and they did a tremendous charity benefit, and I was on the schedule to appear. So the reason a lot of people haven't heard about this benefit, it was the same day as the Oscars. Right, I know. So I was on my way to the airport to go to Flint, and then Chris Rock calls me and is like, hey, Dave, I got a ticket for you for the Oscars. Can you make it? And I was like, sure, nigga, I'm on my way to the airport right now. Oh, come on, man. What am I going to do about that water? What am I, a fucking superhero? I need to have fun. I need to live, too. I didn't fuck that water up. Stevie Wonder was there. They didn't need me. I'm sorry, everybody. I've never been to the Oscars. You've seen the movies I make. I was excited as fuck. I knew I was going to get in some trouble because when I was walking in the red carpet, the black press came after me. Excuse me, brother. When you hear somebody call you brother too much, something terrible's about to happen. Excuse me, brother. And then I looked back and the motherfucker had a tuxedo with the kente cloth tie. I said, uh-oh. He said, I just want to ask you a couple questions. I said, what publication are you with? He said, me, I'm with the Daily Bongo. I said, Daily Bongo? What the fuck? Who the fuck reads this? He said, listen, brother, I just want to ask you a quick question. You understand that this year, this is a boycott for the Oscars, so I'm just wondering what made you, of all people, cross the motherfucking picket line and be here tonight. I said, boycott? Nigga, I haven't been working in 10 years. What do you mean boycott? I've been on strike. Y'all niggas didn't stop working. I had to watch fucking Key and Peele do my show every night. Fuck the Daily Bongo is what I said. I went to Oscars and had a wonderful time. I went in that fucking green room. It was filled with so many stars, I couldn't even believe what I was seeing. Hollywood was seducing me all over again. Yeah, no, it was now in the gay community's defense, Manny Pacquiao said some outlandish shit about gay people. Very, very not nice things that I won't repeat, but there was biblical verses and some analogies to animals. Wasn't a good look. Nike took his shoes immediately, which I thought was a little harsh. A little harsh. You know what I mean? Because he's, just because he's Asian. You know what I mean? Fuck, you gonna take shoes off Asian dude to appease a gay dude. You know what I mean? No? You don't know what I mean. But Asian people kind of know what I mean. No? No Asians in the front? No? No, this is what I mean. Okay, look. Okay, you're an Asian dude. No, I say this with no disrespect, but we're all Americans, right? And we can agree that America has a huge body count all over the world, but nowhere more than Asia. Literally, if you look at history, recently, we have bombed the masculinity out of an entire continent. We dropped 2 atomic bombs on fucking Japan, and they've been drawing Hello Kitty and shit ever since. There's a lot of lady boys in the wake of our bombs. And I know these things because my wife is Asian. She's Filipino. All right, well, okay, so that explains it. Now you know why you see me at all those Filipino events. I'm not there picking up pussy, I'm dropping some off. I take my wife to all that shit. I took my wife to see Pacquiao fight Mayweather. We sat ringside, okay? That was a quiet car ride home. That's what that was. But if you know what's popping in the Philippines, you know that they got a whole generation of kids in the Philippines growing up without their mothers. Yes. A lot of women in the Philippines go to the Arabian Peninsula, they come to the United States, they make all their money here, they send all that money back home, which is still one of the #1 staples in the Philippines economy, money that their expats send back to the Philippines. The men, on the other hand, are left rearing children, twiddling their thumbs, waiting on their wives' checks. These men have been fucking emasculated. And then suddenly, a boxer rises from amongst them and reinstates their manhood with his motherfucking fist. This is not the guy you're supposed to ask, what do you think of homosexuals? He's not your champ. Shit. That's why I don't have a sneaker deal, because if you say something that people don't like, they'll take your fucking shoes off. If Martin Luther King had a sneaker deal, we'd still be on the back of the bus. They always true, the Nike executive come up, hi, Martin, we need you to tone down the talk of civil rights and blacks being humans. It's upsetting our southern distributors. But I don't understand. I thought that's why I had a sneaker deal in the first place. Not quite. Really, it's a walking shoe, and we like the marching, but try to understand. Fuck that shit. You know, I get it though. I understand why gay people are mad, and I empathize. You know what? And I'm just telling you, this is a black dude. I support your movement, but if you want to take some advice from a Negro, pace yourself. These things take a while. Just because they passed the law doesn't mean they're gonna like it. Brown versus the Board of Education was in 1955. Somebody called me a nigga in traffic last Wednesday. It's so long, it takes a minute.